App Planning for Success. Brought to you by Software Accelerator Playbook. On Instagram at S.A.Playbook. Hello and welcome to the podcast. Today we're talking about the March Madness style of putting your app together. Now, what do I mean by that? The idea is that there's two teams coming against each other. One wins and then gets promoted to the next stage, and then they're going against a winner, and then you finally get to the final. The two teams team up against head up against each other, and then one wins. So how does this work with apps? The idea is that when you have a lot of different features, a lot of different ideas, a lot of different directions to go, you have to have one winner. You have to have a way to decide this or that, and then you go, which one do I want? And then you lock it in, you move forward. Kind of like a zip tie, where you're basically deciding something, and then you lock it in, and then now you've got less things to decide. Eventually you get to a point where your decisions then start petering off. There's less of them to make. There's you're not going back over and over again the things you've already done before. And a lot of this mechanism of like this or that is kind of a huge part of getting there with the plan. That there's new ideas presented, and then it's an idea of do I want to do this? Is this something to do right now? And so the quicker that you can really decide, like, okay, this is not for me right now, or okay, I'd like a piece of this, and like, okay, which piece do I need? It's a lot of decision making and a lot of clarifying exactly what it's going to be that you're going to build. And some people really stop short. In fact, the majority of people stop short, and the idea of just creating like a bullet point list of what you need is really not sufficient at all when it comes to clarifying to a developer what they need to build. And the more you leave kind of open-ended and sort of blank or generalized, then that's where you really get in trouble, because somebody's got to figure it out. If it's not going to be you, then somebody's got to figure it out in order to make it work. So if a developer who doesn't understand your vision fully, who doesn't fully get it, makes the decision that is crucial to the whole thing functioning and how everything should work, then you just lost control of it. You just lost control. You took your hand off the wheel. You decided that autopilot was going to take care of it, and then autopilot just decided to go a different direction, and then you're along for the ride. Now, of course, you can change course, but then it's going to be costly. The idea is that if the autopilot takes you somewhere else, then you've now given up that control. And now when you find yourself 50 miles down the road in the wrong direction, can you fix it? Can you get back on course? Of course you can, but now you're going to have to burn the gas and burn the energy to get back on course. Now that's not as good as just deciding for yourself. You could push off the decision for somebody else to decide it. You can wait another day for somebody else to just take care of it. But if you take that kind of attitude, then it's going to be more costly for you to get what you want. Now, if you are really just not worried about it and you just throw something up and we'll build something, then I get that. But I've seen so many projects go wrong, and so many projects just not work properly because the developer is called to be a strategist. And most often than not, that is just not going to be a working solution. That the developer typically is somebody who is good at coding, somebody who's good at taking directions for exactly what needs to be built and turning it into working code. They're not necessarily strategists thinking about what's best for the business, thinking about what's best for the user. Obviously there's different levels of experience, and some people who are developers also get into, UI and UX, and, I started as a developer and then, now really focusing on consulting and strategy. But for the most part, developers that you will hire are good at turning, directions into code. But who makes the directions? And if the directions are unclear, then the developer has to be good enough then to stop and to really clarify. But some developers are just happy to just stick out their hand, say, pay me and I'll get it done, and then they get paid, and then they make something. They make something that resembles what they thought you wanted, but they don't necessarily fully clarify exactly what it is that you want. And then that's where a lot of people get stuck. So you end up with 100 loose ends as opposed to one really focused product. So, as you're moving forward and thinking about this kind of March Madness style, there's maybe 100 to 200 decisions to make in order to get there. Now, how do you make these decisions? If you don't know what you don't know, it's extremely difficult to make these decisions efficiently. It's extremely difficult to move forward with speed when you've got a lot of decisions to make, when you don't even know which decisions you should be making, and you don't have a guide. So if this is you, if you're looking for help with this, and you're basically trying to nail down, exactly what your app plan is, then you need to make sure that you ask for help. That's going to be the best way through. You could take years and years to just struggle through it and spin your wheels, but if you want help to move forward faster, it's best to work with somebody who knows the path, who's gone on the path before, and can guide you by asking you those this or that questions, those March Madness questions of, is this going to be most important to you, or is that going to be most important to you? Because then you end up with a really, really solid plan that is very detailed, and in that extreme detail comes safety, because nothing's up in the air anymore. Or, if some things are up in the air, it's a way, 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 way less than, what you originally started with. I've been planning for a long time now, and I've seen so many things go wrong where people don't consider certain options or consider certain things that then can really cause trouble later down the road. That they just don't think of it because they're not developers. They're not thinking like a developer, so they just think, oh yeah, just kind of make it like that. But they don't realize all the different detail that needs to go into building a product. And when they don't take that level of detail, or they don't even know that they're allowed to change that level of detail, when they don't even think about it, and they just assume it's going to be done right, then that's where the trouble really starts. So, if you want help moving this forward, I would be totally happy to let you know if I could help you. Go to Instagram.com/S.A.Playbook and get the conversation started. Just hit send message and say hi, and we'll get talking. Thanks for being here. I'll see you tomorrow.